Brimming with old-fashioned charm and boasting an almost unbearably romantic ambience, Lisbon is a city with a captivating soul. If you're planning to visit Lisbon for the first time soon, be warned, the Portuguese capital is bound to steal your hearts. From historic landmarks and fascinating neighborhoods to unique flavors and unmatched traditions, keep watching and let the 15 most amazing things to do in Lisbon for first-timers unfold before your eyes. Mainland Europe's westernmost city, Lisbon is caressed by the Atlantic Ocean breeze, graced with breathtaking sunsets, and fiercely loved by locals and visitors alike. It's also one of the oldest cities in the world. Without further ado, here's what to do in Lisbon for the first time. The oldest neighborhood in Lisbon, Alfama is a dream with its maze of narrow alleys, winding stairs and quaint squares. Its name comes from the Arabic alhama, which means bath, a reference to the area's hot springs and public baths. Founded by the Moors in the 8th century, Alfama is one of the most authentic parts of Lisbon, as it's one of the few areas that survived the great 1755 earthquake. We will talk more about this significant event in the city's history later in this video. For centuries on end, Alfama was a neighborhood of the poor. This is no longer the case, as Alfama is one of the most popular tourist areas in Lisbon. Sadly, most of the neighborhood's picturesque homes are now taken over by Airbnb, with only a few still inhabited by mostly elderly locals. Alfama has no shortage of sightseeing opportunities. Lisbon's hilltop castle and cathedral are located in Alfama. Other places of interest in Alfama include Casa dos Bicos, the Pantheon, the Church of São Vicente de Fora, and the Roman Theatre. Some of Lisbon's most famous viewpoints are also located in Alfama. Yet, if there's one thing you should remember about Alfama, it's that this uphill neighborhood was the birthplace of the famous Fado. The Portuguese Fado is a music genre that dates back to the beginning of the 19th century. Fado music and songs are utterly emotional, expressing nostalgia and longing, or saudade, as the Portuguese call this constant feeling of pain that comes with missing someone. The birthplace of the Fado is Lisbon, and more specifically Alfama, and the adjoining multicultural neighborhood of Muraria. The first famous Fado singer was Maria Severa. Although she was only 26 when she died of tuberculosis in 1846, her legend lives on. You can still visit her house, now converted into a Fado restaurant in the heart of Muraria. Yet, the Queen of Fado wasn't born until the 20th century. Amália Rodrigues was instrumental in making the Fado known to the rest of the world, beyond Portugal. You can learn more about the history of Fado at the Fado Museum in Alfama. No trip to Lisbon is complete without a Fado experience. There are Fado houses for all tastes in Lisbon, from restaurants that combine fine dining and Fado music, to no-frills bars where locals gather in the darkness to get lost in the magical world of Fado. You can even opt for a Fado-themed guided tour like the one we recommend in the description below. Dominating Alfama and the city's skyline, the Castle of St. George is an essential stop for anyone visiting Lisbon for the first time. As it usually happens with castles, the complex has witnessed several changes throughout the centuries. So much so that it was almost entirely hidden within the walls of a military base at some point. A major restoration project in the 1940s brought the castle back to life. Therefore, what we see today isn't actually an old castle. But this doesn't take away any of its charm. Visiting the castle means enjoying pleasant strolls along its walls and ramparts, taking in stunning panoramic views at every turn. Since 2010, the castle grounds are also home to a fascinating archaeological site with exhibits from 3 different periods in Lisbon's history. You can walk among the ruins on a short yet insightful guided tour. The Castle Museum displays several items that were found in the area of the archaeological site. Before you leave, don't forget to say hi to the castle's permanent residents, the lovely peacocks that inevitably steal the show, even from the castle itself. The best way to get to know a city is through its tastes, and this is also true for Lisbon. Although traditional Portuguese food is very meat and fish heavy, you can always find a few vegetarian options at the city's restaurants. The most delicious veggie dish to try in Lisbon is peixinhos da horta, or tempura green beans. By the way, did you know that it was actually Portugal that introduced tempura to Japan? If you want to know more mind-blowing facts about Portuguese cuisine, we'd recommend joining one of the top-rated food tours we've included in the description below. Belém is one of the best places to visit in Lisbon. Although its history spans many centuries, Belém is mostly associated with the Age of Discoveries. It was there that sailors and great navigators set out in search of new distant lands. Nowadays, Belém is home to some of Lisbon's most remarkable monuments and museums. Probably the most striking among them is the impressive Jerónimos Monastery. Commissioned by King Manuel I, the monastery is a fine example of the Manueline architectural style. The latter stands out for its lavish decorative elements that are either maritime-themed or inspired by the flora and fauna of the newly discovered lands. Once inside, you'll be taken aback by the beauty of the monastery's ornate cloister. To make the most of your time at the Jerónimos Monastery, learn all of its secrets and avoid its long queues, we recommend visiting on a guided tour. Your next stop in Belém is the Monument to the Discoveries, a 52-meter sculpture dedicated to the Age of Discoveries. There is an observation deck you can climb up to for panoramic views of Belém and the Tagus River. At the foot of this monumental structure, a world map helps you understand how far the Portuguese colonial empire stretched. Of course, it wasn't always roses. For a glimpse into the real circumstances of the Age of Discoveries, click to book the Lisbon in a Day tour you will find in the description below. As you continue your walk along the promenade, you will soon reach one of Lisbon's most iconic landmarks. Apart from its military function, the UNESCO-listed Belém Tower also had a celebratory purpose, glorifying the explorers at the beginning and end of their long journeys into the unknown. There are usually very long queues to enter the tower. However, if you ask us, you're not missing out on anything if you don't enter the tower. It's a lot more photogenic from the outside. After so much sightseeing, you must be hungry. You can't leave Belém without a taste of the emblematic pastéis de Belém. You can try pastéis de nata everywhere in Lisbon, yet nothing is quite like the original. This iconic pastry was born here in Belém after 1834, when all monks were expelled from the Jerónimos Monastery and were forced to make a living somehow. They used the secret recipe to create this scrumptious little pastry that was meant to become one of Lisbon's very simples. If you have more time to spare in Belém, take a stroll along the promenade or visit a museum or two. The National Coach Museum houses an extraordinary collection of vehicles from the 17th, 18th and 19th centuries. On the other hand, the Quake Museum uses cutting-edge technology to offer an immersive experience that takes you back in time to one of the most pivotal moments in Lisbon's history, the 1755 earthquake. It was the morning of November 1st, 1755, when life suddenly changed for the people of Lisbon. A strong earthquake, followed by a tsunami and great fires, destroyed the up to that point thriving city almost completely. It even disrupted the Portuguese Empire. However, due to the earthquake, scientific research was intensified and the city was rebuilt according to innovative anti-seismic methods in construction and urban planning. As a result of the Great 1755 earthquake, Lisbon had to be rebuilt, in some cases from scratch. Two fine examples of post-earthquake urban planning are Baixa and Fado, the neighborhoods that comprise the very heart of Lisbon. Completely destroyed in 1755, Commerce Square is the largest square in Lisbon. It was rebuilt in a way that would remind locals of the Ribeira Palace that stood there before the earthquake. Opening up to Augusta Street, the Augusta Arch is a sight to behold, while its viewing terrace offers some of the best vistas of Lisbon. Walking along Augusta Street brings you to yet another of Lisbon's main squares, Rossio. It is here that a colourful Christmas market is set up every November. Yet the highlight of Rossio is its calçada. Calçada pavements in Portugal are very common. The one in Rossio is the first large-scale calçada ever to be constructed. Next to Rossio, Figueira Square is yet another busy hub, home to the nostalgic Confeitaria Nacional, the city's oldest pastry shop, and one of our favorite places in Lisbon. Let's take a break here, because we feel you're a bit overwhelmed. You didn't expect there would be so much to see and do in Lisbon, did you? But what if we told you that you can enjoy Lisbon in the most hassle-free way by joining a tour or three instead of trying to figure out everything on your own? This video is sponsored by Walks and Devour, two companies that run the best tours in Lisbon and several other cities in Europe and beyond. Walks and Devour have been our favorite tour companies for years. Not only because they run the most insightful tours led by passionate and knowledgeable guides, but also because they are the embodiment of ethical tourism. Walks and Devour always strive to collaborate with small family-run businesses and are dedicated to exploring the best possible ways to visit major attractions with small groups. This way, they manage to offer guests the most authentic experiences while supporting the local economies in the cities where they're running tours. In Lisbon, Walks and Devour run food-related tours, a Fado-themed tour, and a comprehensive Lisbon in a day tour that covers everything from the treasures of Belém to a walk through quaint Alfama. You can find links to all the available Walks and Devour tours in Lisbon in the description below. Picking up from where we left off, another neighborhood you must check out when visiting Lisbon for the first time is Bairro Alto. Yet another of the city's historic districts, Bairro Alto is the place to be if you want to have a taste of Lisbon's nightlife. But even if you are not a night owl, you should take a stroll around Bairro Alto in the daytime. Stop for coffee and cake at A Brasileira, a lush cafe that dates back to 1905, where you can snap a selfie with the great poet Fernando Pessoa, to the dismay of his lonely nature. Then step inside a special bookshop. Livraria Bertrand was founded in the distant 1732. If you buy a book, don't forget to ask the staff to put a stamp on it that says you have been to the world's oldest bookshop. However, the main attraction in Bairro Alto is the entrancing Carmo convent. Founded in 1389, the convent suffered significant damage during the 1755 earthquake. The church's roof collapsed, killing all the people that were inside during the earthquake. The authorities decided not to restore the church's roof so that nobody would ever forget what happened on that day. Nowadays, stepping inside Carmo convent and wandering among its ruins is one of the best things to do in Lisbon. There is also an on-site museum with many interesting exhibits, and of course there is a cat that calls Carmo home. At some point, we had to address the elephant in the room. Lisbon is uphill, as in very uphill. Being one of the cities that are supposed to be built on 7 hills, this comes as no surprise. Only that the hills feel a lot more than 7, especially on a hot day. Yet, fear not, the city itself has made sure to help locals and visitors go up and down the various neighborhoods with relative ease. Currently, there are 3 funiculars operating in Lisbon. These are Elevador do Lavra, Elevador da Gloria and Elevador da Bica. All 3 are utterly charming and most of all, life-saving. Elevador do Lavra is Lisbon's oldest funicular, while Elevador da Gloria is probably the most popular one. Elevador da Gloria and Elevador da Bica connect Baixa to Bairro Alto. Another way to get from Baixa to Bairro Alto, and specifically to Carmo convent, is the ornate Santa Justa lift. This gorgeous elevator is a vertical structure with a tower, a viewing platform and a walkway. The downside is that there are always long queues to use it. Therefore, here's a tip. Instead of waiting in the queue forever, walk to the nearby Baixa Sadu metro station on Crucifixo Street and use its admittedly less fancy escalators to get to the station's other exit in Largo do Chiado. You can thank us later. The uphill streets might not sound that inviting, but Lisbon's hills are responsible for the many amazing viewpoints that are scattered across the city. Apart from breathtaking views, Lisbon's miradouros feature old-world kiosks where you can enjoy a drink by the sound of one or more street performers. Going into detail about each viewpoint would need a separate video, so here's just a quick overview of the best among them. First of all, we have Alfama's two super famous viewpoints. Miradouro das Portas do Sol is one of the quaintest viewpoints in Lisbon. A few steps away, Miradouro da Santa Lucia has lost its magic in recent years, not only because of the crowds jostling for that perfect Instagram shot, but also because their once splendid view is now ruined by the brand new cruise terminal. Our favorite viewpoints in Lisbon are the Gloria viewpoint and Miradouro da Graça. At the latter, you can also step inside the adjoining Graça church with its own viewing terrace for more striking views. If you have more time to spare, other viewpoints to check out are Miradouro de Santa Catarina, Miradouro da Senhora do Monte, Miradouro da Penha de Franca, and the Monte Agudo viewpoint. No trip to Lisbon is complete without a ride on board the iconic tram number 28. Stepping inside the tiny wooden tram feels like traveling through time. The tram follows a circular route, allowing you to see the best of Lisbon from the comfort and warmth of this vintage vehicle. The route starts in Martim Moniz Square and ends in Prazeres. As the queues are always insane at Martim Moniz, we recommend hopping on the bus to Prazeres, enjoying a stroll through the famous cemetery located there, and then taking tram 28 from there without worrying about waiting in line for the next one. Few things are as quintessentially Portuguese as the iconic ceramic tiles that adorn the interior and exterior walls of religious and circular buildings throughout the country. In Lisbon, there is no shortage of opportunities to admire tiled facades during your walks. However, if you want to delve into the history and art of the famed Azulejos, Lisbon's National Tile Museum is well worth a visit. Even if you're visiting Lisbon for the first time, this doesn't mean you can't embrace the favorite habit of every Lisboeta. Enjoying a shot or three of Ginja, a cherry liquor originating in Lisbon. A former cure for several illnesses, Ginja now basically cures your soul, but don't overdo it. Some of the best places to try Ginja are a Ginja, Ginja Samrival, and Ginja do Carmo. At the latter, ask for your Ginja to be served in a chocolate cup. It's often said that Lisbon was built to be seen from the water. We second that. Nothing beats a cruise along the tranquil waters of the Tagus River, especially at sunset. Make memories to last a lifetime as you take in the views of both banks, with the silhouette of the 25th of April bridge in the distance and the imposing Cristo Rei statue soaring above the clouds. When planning your first trip to Lisbon, you have to allow enough time for a day trip to Sintra, a site of unfathomable natural beauty, dotted with astonishing palaces and mansions, all splendid examples of 19th century Romanticist architecture. Sintra is an unmissable part of any trip to Lisbon. Some of the best places to visit in Sintra include the mesmerizing Pena Palace, the otherworldly Quinta da Regaleira, and the mighty Castelo dos Muros. Not to mention the nearby Cabo da Roca, the westernmost point of mainland Europe. Please stop us here, or we'll continue going on and on about Lisbon's charms. From the city's quirky street art, the Instagrammable Pink Street and the trendy Alex Factory, to the modern Park of the Nations and the romantic riverside walks you can enjoy in Almada, Lisbon has a lot more to offer. Yet, this video is for those of you visiting Lisbon for the first time. As such, we feel that now is the right time to leave you. But not for long. There will be a new video about more things to do in Lisbon before too long, so stay tuned. If you enjoyed our video about the best things to do in Lisbon for first-timers, please like, comment and share it. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.